This life is short. The days are extremely short. We'd like to think that we can juggle a lot more than we're capable of juggling. And at the end of the day, we've siphoned off and given off a little bit of energy here, a little bit of energy there, and we're left empty. And there's that final choice to say, I'm not going to be left empty anymore. I know what fills me up. I know what my soul quest is. I know what my soul, my spirit, is telling me to do. And it has nothing to do with the false parameter of this false self-identity that's been given to me, and I reject it. And that's where you see that it takes up all of your time. It takes full-time focus, more full-time than working a menial, worthless job that leaves you empty, that leaves money or a house, possibly, not these days, to children that you've taught to also sacrifice their spiritual selves, their true identity, for meager trinkets and things, items. And this is what the slave morality is. And the master morality is not being investigated nearly enough. And that is getting more into Rudolf Steiner's work than where Nietzsche left off, is to say that, and Nietzsche understood this, Einstein understood this. In fact, Einstein was called a spiritualist once by Tesla, Nikola Tesla. But they were both spiritualists because they understood the spiritual quality, the spiritual aspects that I'm talking about right here. And it is to not deceive the self. The self is like a little worm in most of us. We haven't fed it. It is turned into this vile, despicable little worm-like rat that's sitting in the back corners, in the seclusion of our minds, not being fed, not being paid attention to, not being nurtured. And once we begin to think a little more like Ayn Rand postulated, where anyone who looked from the outside would think that she's making these statements from a physical place. But it is to say that if you don't develop the mind and the intellect, and thereby realizing that there has to be a point where you can no longer serve the false constructs that are put forth by the master key system, that the secret is, I can't believe I kind of have to go back through this because I remember making videos about this that have been erased for the long over 10 years ago, and to say that the Masonic order of today and the master key system, which is the secret, right? That whole Rhonda Byrne thing is the false web of lies that go against your spiritual development. You're supposed to take all of your energy, all your manipulations, all of your mind, and to enter into this game where you are now sacrificing everything and playing Minecraft. This is the door to Minecraft, to get stuff, to follow along with this string of falsity. And you will not buy a car, you will not buy a house, you will not spend a weekend where that money ever frees you or ever makes you feel like you are complete. But you can do it today. You can say that you are going to serve the self, the one self. And this isn't what people think. This is not a selfish thing where you're chasing after the next Rolex. I just subscribed to Ben Armstrong. I unsubscribed to BitBoy years ago because I saw what was coming. Now that I see a soul in process, now when I see someone who's reached that place and they're having this breakdown I want to see what's going on, not from a voyeuristic sense. I'm rooting for him to become the person that he was supposed to be, to realize that the reason that he's hitting the skids is because he's not part of the left-hand path, and that his soul is on the line, that he's having to go, I want these ridiculous things like the illusion of a beautiful woman that I sacrifice my wife and my long-term relationship for. And I'm not going to get too into it because I don't want to speak for Ben. I actually like Ben, and I think that I hope that his spirit and his soul are able to feel fulfilled enough. And I think that's the beauty of being alive today in this time, is the fact that all the information's out there. Like, you can very much choose who you're going to subscribe to and who you're going to watch, and whether or not you're going to be a voyeur, rooting for people's demise, or if you really are rooting for the truth, the purity and truth, to say, I hope everyone makes it through. I hope that the purity that I experience, that will very quickly, has culminated into an expiration date on my head. I hope that I'm able to see others conquer this as well, and it's not in a traditional way. Yes, you're going to be defamed. Yes, you're going to be rejected. Yes, you're going to have to make statements out there where the entire world rejects you. But in that time, in that culmination, in that culminative epic state, you're free. You're free. You're rejected from the world. That's how you get out of the matrix. You have to be rejected. You have to be the cornerstone rejected. Everyone has to say, this guy's full of crap, and yet they can't hear you speaking the truth. So, we become like adolescents. We become like babies. We start kicking and screaming, and we want our way, and soon to realize that I never wanted that. That I was manipulated into thinking that is what I wanted. That item is what I wanted, but I was only rebelling against another item that was placed before me of, like, here, have an RC Cola. And then the concept of, I want a Coke like that person over there. When both of them are bad for you. You didn't want one in the first place. You weren't even really thirsty. The concept had been brought to you, and now you're bought into the intellectual tennis match. But these symbols of things that you want were planted in your head. And so this seems like off track, off topic, but it's being pushed at us all the time through social media, advertising, and we take those concepts out into the world and we start playing the whole Coke Pepsi game. And it's like, it's this narrative of objective thinking that isn't even something that we would naturally presuppose that we want. It is being planted in your head. And what you really want is, you want nurturing. I hear people saying, oh, you want love. And it's like, love is one of those principles that's practiced, but there's something much deeper than what we have experienced as love here. It's not polluted. What we want is, we want purity. We all want purity. And those who are tricked into thinking that they can never be pure again, or that they never have been pure, want the antithesis. They want to impurify everything, psychologically imprint a rationalism that's finite and doesn't have any eternal prospect of spiritual energy culminate into a soul force. It is not really a force. It is a derivative, and that's the soul trap from what's referred to as the matrix. You can't be on both sides. You can't have all these worldly possessions and have developed a soul. Everyone has tried to prove that that's not true, and the only viable biblical source that we could turn to is our stories through antiquity. You have Solomon, you have Gilgamesh. You have people who supposedly existed and were always battling with that. People who possess the power to control demons or to be in sort of some sort of dialogue with them, yet maintain a purity. It's just not true. That doesn't exist. You're either on one side or you are on the other. And that's what these unseen entities that both Nathaniel Gillis and Robert Bigelow, go on New Thinking Aloud, talk about with 100% conviction and accuracy of, I've not only seen evidence of it, I've witnessed it and experienced it. And so as everyone is looking for aliens, there are things around us that are manipulating us that are of far more importance. It's kind of like wondering if a kettle pot has reached its boiling point 10 billion light years away when you just turned the kettle on about 4 minutes ago and you don't know if it's hitting 220 yet or not.